Dreams aren't there for no reason.
And I think that probably is where your Buddhist background came, no? Like, because what I see sometimes that in the lucid dreaming YouTube community, just generalizing, is that they stop there. They stop in, okay, you have a lucid dream, now you can have sex, you can have the car, you can fly, and you can get these superpowers, and you can have fun. And that's it. But I feel that your approach is different. Is that what Dream Yoga gave you?
Yeah, well, Dream Yoga actually was that and more. I feel like there's that level that you see on YouTube, and then there's a higher level, which is more like Carl Jung and looking into shadow work. So, we all have our own unique mess as humans, or things that we're working through, or conditioning or traumas that we're working through. And our dreams are a beautiful way where we can start to access this information. A lot of these things that we hide it under the table. A lot of it's like blind spots we can't even see. And so this shadow work, for me, it's an essential step on the path, and a huge step for us to do. It's like it takes a huge amount of energy, although we don't know we're doing it, to hide these shadow aspects of ourselves. So as you begin to go, oh, wow, I realize just how much I care what people think about me, and it's directing my life in all of these ways. Or I have such an issue with the masculine, which was a part of my path in healing. As you begin to open the door to it, you stop using all this energy to hide this part of yourself, and then you can relax and be more authentic. And as people are doing this shadow work, I feel like it feels a lot safer to be around people that aren't scared to look at their wonky bits. For me, shadow work is a bit like the ghetto of the mind. And if I look at, and I like to think of it like that, because if I think of some of my favorite music comes from the ghetto. And so I think this is a good way of looking at it. So great sources of rawness and inspiration, blues, hip hop, great music comes from that place. And so it's like a beautiful door that we get to open. And if, I said I studied with the mystery schools, it's more of this alchemical path of initiation. The path to the philosopher's stone, to self-realization, is through that door. It's through the door of the shadow work, and you get to see what it is you're working with before we can transmute it into the gold. And so that's first. And then with the Dream Yoga, you can open the door into accessing teachings and transmissions. And, in Tibetan Buddhism, you mentioned the Bardo stage, but you also have the opportunity to practice for death. What they say in Tibetan Buddhism is if you can become aware that you're dreaming, I'm dreaming, you can become aware that you're dead when you pass over.
Lucid death.
Yeah, and so they say there's a huge opportunity for awakening at that point, or more of an opportunity to consciously choose your next life. And so that's a big motivation in Tibetan Buddhism. But depending on the lineage, I've experienced many different approaches. The shadow work is so important, and I feel like the more we do the shadow work, it's like we're doing this cleaning. We clean the window, and once we've cleaned the window, we can see more clearly. What we open the door to is profound inspiration. And so then it becomes, I feel like you move back and forth from healing into thriving. You can get your most beautiful ideas or, prophetic dreams of the future. This isn't like an unusual thing that's limited to few. If the moment you start taking your dream diary seriously and you look back over the years, you'll be amazed. Most people will have had a dream of the future that came true.
Can you put like a short example of how shadow work works through dreams? How can you access, and how can you work with these energies, or yeah, in that realm?
Yeah, well, it's like we have our conscious mind. You know, Freud put it simply, the conscious mind is like the top of the iceberg, and then underneath the ocean is this huge part of the iceberg, the unconscious mind. And so in here is stored all of this shadow aspect, or it's just like this huge memory bank. And every part of our being desires to be seen, to be heard, and to be met. It's very simple. And I feel like I've studied healing modalities for, well, nearly 20 years, and very powerful shamanic methods and plant medicines, but a lot of these processes, at the heart of it, is just like truly being heard, truly being seen, truly being met in our truth, in our vulnerability, in all of our aspects of ourself. And so there is a natural mechanism that the unconscious wants to be seen, to be met, to be understood. And so one of the most accessible ways, I feel, for all humans is to just listen to the dreams, because it's reaching up from there. Whether it's like shame that we've felt, or whether it's like our desires, or whatever it is.
Fears, like nightmares or things like that.
Yeah, fears, all of these parts, where do I feel scared? These places, it's all presented to us in our dreams, especially when we have the courage to turn around and to look at them. And the more consciously you direct your awareness, like I feel in a place where I'm ready to meet my shadow, where I'm ready to meet my fears, then your dreams will provide them. And it's almost like, for me, like shaking like a fizzy drink bottle, and what you get to do in your dreams is just go shh, 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 just take the pressure off. And so an example for me was, I didn't know this at the time, but you know, throughout my teen years, I started to see particularly men in power and think, you're an asshole. And it was just like a common view I held for any man in a position of power. My PE teacher, like the politicians, all people in leadership positions, I would begin to label them as an asshole, egotistical, all of these different things. And through my dreams, these characters, archetypes, just kept emerging and coming to me, and I'd be like, asshole. And then it became almost hilarious. Is it actually true? Is this actually true, or is it my projection? And so it offered me the opportunity, the mirror, to see that my projections of all men in power wasn't true. At that point, I could say, James, what is it you're scared of? You know? And I experienced some violence growing up, and there are a multitude of reasons that created this worldview in order for me to try and keep myself safe. And as soon as I began to heal this, I could approach these characters in my dreams, and it began to dissipate. And I did the same in my waking life. I began to speak to mentors, male mentors, men in power, and slowly over time I realized it was all made up, that there's lots of beautiful men in positions of power, men that could be my teachers, and so I'm so grateful, because I couldn't even see it, and if it weren't for my dreams, maybe I'd still be walking around saying all men in power are assholes. And instead I have dear friends and amazing teachers instead.